Good Voch Raboisai. Today's shir is sponsored, dedicated in admiration of Jake Lebovic's commitment to learning the Daf and the tremendous support he receives from his wife, Michal, by his parents, his siblings, their spouses, and all the cute nieces and nephews. Shkoyach. So, today, right after the emails, I'm going to do a short demonstration of a Komitzah, which we didn't get to on Friday, and it's the continuation of today's sugya. Dear Rebelli, hope all as well. As I mentioned last night, the story of Kimchas reminded me of the story you read about Harry's grandmother-in-law. Here's the clip, starts at 3:45 on Shabbos, Daf 123. I remember the story. Harry Shalom, or Aaron Shalom, sent an email describing his grandmother, that his grandfather said that he's never in his life seen her here. So one of the few stories that actually made you cry, made me cry. That I don't remember, and I didn't read this part of the email. Good Shabbos or good Voch, as the case may be. Avi from Avi Sherman. Yishkoyach. Yeah, beautiful. From Chaim Lowenstein. Shalom Rebelli, thank you and the MDY family for a great opportunity to learn the Daf with you every day, Baruch Hashem, without a doubt. Rebelli, you make learning the Daf exciting, refreshing, and fun. How do I connect with the MDY family in Borough Park or the New York area? Please let me know. Thanks. Wishing you and the MDY family delightful and holy Shabbos. All the very best. Chaim Lowenstein. Raboisai. Here it says from M. Efron. Eli, I thought you'd get nachas with me for my son's meeting up while learning the Daf live with you earlier this morning. One in Chicago and one in Baltimore. I listened later. Good Shabbos. Okay, it's a picture of me, but that's not the important part. The important part is down here. It says, Hillel Efron. Noam Efron, you on? Noam Efron, yes, I'm on, brother. I love what? And then Noam Efron goes, good morning, Rabbi Isai. It's a lot of nachas. Nachas slash little tinge of jealousy. You know him? Hillel, get over here, Hillel. Hillel, get over here. Actually, Eli, come here. Eli, come here. Eli, Eli, and you could also come. The brothers are here.
No, but my brother's not here.
Rabbi Isai, this is Eli Kamiansky. 3 years ago, we were doing the daf back there in Chaniche.
Yeah.
And I wanted to record it. I said, I want my kids to be able to see it later on in future years. And Eli says, there's something called YouTube. I go, yeah, I know about it. He goes, you could do it live. I was live, interesting. And he showed me how to do it. He pushed a few buttons and he set it down on the table. And that was it.
Pretty simple.
It's all one guy, one idea. Here he is, Eli Kamiansky. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. My boy said, this is Aaron Ringel. Learning the daf. It looks like a whole matzav situation. And this is Shlomo Eggert. We're going to have more from him. But here he is in the what do they call that bus? The Lakewood shuttle bus in Lakewood. Here it is, little tiny screen. We got to sponsor something larger than that. This guy looks like a what? What do you say? They fix the sound. This guy looks a shtickle shady. I know him personally. He's a great guy. Eli Deichman, you all know him. He's wearing the right hoodie. He's wearing a hoodie, but it's the right one. He's doing the daf on a bus. This is also on a bus. So bus and bus. This is a bus in like Europe somewhere. Where? In Ukraine. Bus in Ukraine, doing the daf in the bus. All right, Rabbi Sai. Here we go. Boy Rav Papa. Oh, let's do the thing. So here it goes. Great start. You know what? Here we go. This is going to get all over the place. So the Gemara had a shaila yesterday. This is a mincha, okay? Somebody brings all this flour. It's cracked already, Baruch Hashem. Brings all this. Only a very small part of this goes on the mizbeach, and that's the actual mincha. The rest, the kohanim get to eat. So the Gemara's first question was, well, this is the way it should go. You put your hand in like this with the 3 fingers. You grab 3 fingers worth, And all this is the Komitzah right over here. Okay. Now the Gemara said, what if a guy goes like this, like a tractor, picks it up, and this is what they call in Israel soilet. It's fine. It doesn't mean fine. It means that it's good stuff. It's all leaking out. It's obviously not the right stuff. It's one of the avodas hakashis pamigdash, not to leak out. There's one way. The Gemara had another shayla this way, another shayla. If you go from the side, it's dadima when you close your fingers. Okay, so that's all the shaylas. So this is the way to do it. You go like this. You go sideways, maybe like this a little bit according to some. And when you're in there, you grab 3 fingers worth, and with your thumb, you knock off the rest. Okay, I got it all. It's not leaking b'chlal. Hold on. We got to figure this out. So you go like this, and like this. It's not going to work. Okay, anyway, so I got a bunch of this stuff in my hand, and this is a kli sharis. This is a holy kli. And when I take these 3 fingers worth, and I pour it in here, this right in here becomes Kaddish. Kedushas Haguf. Kedushas Haguf. Before is Kedushas Damim. It was right over here, Kedushas Damim. This elevates it because I put in a Kli Sharis, becomes Kedushas Haguf. Once we know that, so the Gemara asks a question. What if I take it, and instead of putting it on the bottom of the Kli, I put it on the side of the Kli, up here? That's Gemara's first question. So we're continuing with Rav Papa's questions. We're going to have 1 or 2 in between to distract us, but we're continuing on with these questions that he's asking. He started on them Daf Amud Aleph, I believe. Yeah. We're going through, it's 2 dapim of different questions. Boi, it's the last word on Amud Beis. Today's Ches. Boi Rav Papa. Dapke lekoimetz bedufnei the mana. He was able to stick the Komitzah. Oh, good point. You know why it didn't work? Because there's no oil in here. It's supposed to be oil and all the good stuff. Then it becomes nice and mushy. Shkoyach. Okay, good thing we didn't do it like that. No, it's funny. Okay. Fine. When I did the real mincha, and when we do menachas, we did it with oil and everything. And I remember, he asked me, why do you need gloves? I brought gloves, because I remember then I needed gloves. Like then I realized, maybe you don't need gloves. Okay, fine. So here it is. Here's the Komitzah. You see, it's all gooey and mushy. It's like dough. It sticks. It's stickable. Sticks to the side of the kli. Do you need inside the kli? Who cares what part of the kli? The top, the bottom. It needs to be done properly. The proper way to do it is on the bottom. No, we don't have a resolution to this. Tishbi tarets kushis v'bois. When Eliyahu comes, we'll know the answer. What if you flipped over the kli and you put the Komitzah ba'arite the mona mau? So according to Rashi, here's a kli. It's flipped over. It's like a kiddush cup that has a bottom part, and it also has a base kibble, the bottom part, and he puts the Komitzah inside that bottom part. Taisus asks a kasha on Rashi. Doesn't like it so much. And in fact, the Shidduch Komitzah says a very interesting shot that actually fits in a little better in the Lashon. He says that you flip over the kli and you advocate, you stick it to the kli, the regular part of the kli, but it's upside down. Hello, I know you're very... Here, this is the kli. He turns the kli upside down and puts the Komitzah on the roof, which is the bottom. But now that makes sense. Advocate. He's sticking it. The way Rashi learns is, why is there advocate? Why is there any sticking going on here? He put it nicely. Look, this is Rashi. He put it nicely on the bottom of the upside down kli. So why does the Gemara use the lashon of advocate? Where is he sticking it? He put it. According to Shidduch Komitzah, that it's upside down, so you have to stick it to this part. You can come back. It's good. We're done. You like your spot. Do you need to place it inside and you have that? The kli, according to Rashi, needs to be right side up, not upside down. Now we're talking about the chafina of the Ketores. He puts his two hands in and he grabs. How much do you grab? How much? Is it equal with the top of his fingers, or it's piled up very high? Here are the pictures. Mechukais, just even with his fingers. Gedushais. Hillel, what's the answer to this question? Machlokes? No, wrong. But think a little bit here. I'm going to ask the question again. Now think. Is it very flat or very, very high? What's the answer? In the middle. Very good. You see, Hillel, when you make that thing work, you can come up with better answers than Machlokes. Fufa. I was tripping him up this time. You got to trip him up once in a while. But next time I ask you, it's going to be Machlokes, so just stick with that, okay? I have a great raya because it says specifically, not even flat and not too much, too piled up. Ella tefufais. Tefufais is a lashon of floating. Rashi brings here in Avais it says da'ataft atfuch, that the skull was floating, so it's a little bit, not too much. Says the Gemara Tanasam. Nishbach Adam al Ritzba, we're talking about the blood of a carbon. So, step number 1 is Shchita. Step number 2 is Kabbalas Adam. After that goes Harilacha and Zrika. So, the blood, before I had a chance to grab it with a kli and to make it a real Kabbalah, it fell on the floor. Vasaf, and he gathered it, puzzle. You can't do Zrika with it. But if he caught it in a kli, min hakli ala ritzpa vasafai, it fell down onto the floor, and from the floor he picked it up, he grabbed it, and he used it. Kosher. It is kosher. This reminds me of a very famous joke here in Eretz Yisrael. You know, when you go to Chasen, a typical Chasen in Israel, the guy comes out with a platter of schnitzel, and he asks you, do you want the really, really oily, greasy schnitzel, or would you like a little less oily? Those are the two options. So the guy asked him, whatever, but why is your hand touching my schnitzel? So the guy tells him, what do you want? You want me to pick it up from the floor again? Anyway, so that's the Gemara over here. It fell on the floor. Are you allowed to pick it up from the floor? Well, if it came from a kli, it was already in the kli shares, so it has gushas, it has the proper everything, so it's okay. But if this is the very first time, but if this is the very first time, you didn't do Kabbalah b'kli, so you can't do it as possible. Says Gemara Menon Mili. We're going back. Not how do you know this, but how do you know that you need the blood to come directly from the animal into the kli? We're doing a little bit of a menacha sugya here. The Tana Rabbanon v'lokach midam apar. V'lokach midam apar. Menachem, you remember this? V'lokach midam hapar. Noam remembered. I asked him if he remembered. I'll show you in a second. You remember. It says in the pasuk you should take midam hapar. Now let's read it by ourselves. You should take midam from the blood of the ox. What's mi? What does midam mean? A little bit. It means you don't need a lot, even a small amount. Midam, right? So the Gemara learns no. Midam hanefesh. I'm learning it means there's different bloods. Right when the incision starts, there's a little blood that's there in the skin or whatever, the blood vessels that are on top. Then you go weiter, there's dam hatamtzis. It's a little gathering of blood. I want the dam hanefesh. I want the blood that the neshama is totally in it. That's what I need. So from the fact that the Torah says v'lokach midam hapar, it's the blood of the ox, what sustains the ox, what makes the ox. What's the blood? Dam hanefesh. That's the blood I need to catch in my kli and do zrika with, do Kabbalah with, and then later on zrika. It shouldn't be the initial blood that's there by the or. And dam tamtzis, by the way, you have in the beginning, you have at the end, but it's not dam nefesh. Midam apor, dam me'apor yikablenu. Di so kedaydach midam apor, midam, vafilu mixas dam. If you're going to learn, oh, you're here. Great. We need to do a family picture here. Who else do we have? Where's your dad? Okay, we'll wait for your dad to come. Vafilu midam. What happened? What did he say? He's not coming tonight. Eli's here finally. All right. This midam apor, midam vafilu miktzas dam. So the typical pshat would be midam. The mem means from the blood. It doesn't say dam. Dam would mean get me all the dam. Midam means some of it. Because if you're going to learn like that, Rav Yehuda says not. You have to receive and grab all the blood of the dam nefesh of the par. Not a little bit. How does he know it? Shenemar ve'eis kol dam apar, all the blood. Yishbach says mizbach. So he says mefurish that you have to have all the dam nefesh. Doesn't mean all the blood, but the dam nefesh. So what do we do? It means that you have to, not a little bit of the blood, but it has to be the main part of the par. The blood of the par. Dam nefesh. And listen to this. Because savar, goyrin, umoisifin, vidarshin. You could take off, add on, and darshan. So, when we learn Menachas, Menachem, you remember this? You gotta zoom in on this if possible, because back in the day there's only 20, 30 people. You remember this? Get over here, Eli, get over here. He got up already. He's already. Eli remembers. Unbelievable. This is from 3 years ago. So when I had time to do arts and crafts, this is how it worked. It says midam apar. You take the mem and you put it down here. So it goes like this. Oh, I have to make this work. It's mamish magic. It's magic. You ready? Look at this. What does it say now? Dam me'apar. I asked Noam, you remember? He goes, of course. Like he told me the whole thing. You don't remember it? He remembers it. You want to know how it works? I'll tell you. It's not a problem. Ruined the magic. The moms don't even see. It's like, oh, it's not a magnet. Okay, anyways, back in the day, it was a lot of fun. 7 guys. No, how many guys do we have? 20s. He doesn't get it. There's a slit in the paper. Not going to call him up there. Not going to call him up. Call him up. David Feinberg. Get over here, David Feinberg. All right. Fine. So what's going on here? So only once in a while, the Malbim explains this, that we're talking about a mem, meh. And since we have a major question here from another pasuk, it says, kol dam apar. So it's a contradiction. Over here it says midam, and over there it says mikol. So you take the extra mem. It's only when you have, it's not, you don't stop, play games, and grab a letter from here and put it over there. He goes through a whole thing, different rules. Rishonim talk about the different rules. Then you can do something called goyrin. Take this away, umoisifim, and you add it to the next word, vidarshim, and then you darshan that what? That the blood should be dam hanefesh. That's how I learn it. It has to be the par. Dam me'apar. Okay. Bayra Papa. I found it today. Doing a little search, found it in there. Bayra Papa. Nispazrak Teres Mimloy Chafnav Mahu. Going back to Rav Papa, going back to Ketores. He has his hands like this, full of Ketores, and it falls on the floor. Something happens. I don't know what happens, but yeah, you could sneeze. Yeah. Mimloy Chafnav Mahu. Yada, you're saying good. You're saying good. I don't know if you ever noticed, but when you drive and sneeze, very dangerous. Seriously, if you're like in a situation, if you're driving down a highway and sneeze, not. But if you're like in New York, trying to go through double parked car, you sneeze, it's all over. So if you're holding tires, he's saying he sneezed, it could be a problem. Yeah. You have to go like this, and you forgot. Yeah. Do we consider his hand like the neck of an animal? Upsula. Or perhaps his hand is like a kli, and therefore I could gather it from the floor. Teiku. What's going on here? We said, if there was never a kli, then you can't gather something from the floor. If blood falls on the floor before it hits the kli, then it's no good. If the blood was in a kli, and then it goes to the floor, then it's okay. So what's his hand? So here, the Rishonim explain like this. Tasishanim, the Ritva. What does he do with the chafina? He puts it in a kli. But the Torah doesn't say you should put it in a kli. That was what the sugi we had yesterday. That we're forced to put it in a kli. Why? Because he can't carry the coals and the Torahs together. He has no way to do it, and he has to use his mouth, and it's not proper. So he puts it in the kli. But in fact, it's probably better that he shouldn't use a kli, because the Torah says, and you put it on the coals. So that's the shaila in the Gemara. Do we say, since he really doesn't need a kli, so his hands are a kli, and if his hands are a kli and it falls from the floor to the floor, then he can go pick it up because it's already in a kli. It's in a kli sharis. Or perhaps no. At the end of the day, he is going to use a kli, so his hands are not the kli. We look at what at the end of the day he's using a kli, so his hands don't have halacha of a kli, and therefore he cannot pick it up. Take it. Men in a shayla. Bayra papa. Chisha bechafinas k'toris ma'u. What if he had improper thoughts? When it comes to kachim, improper thoughts means he's going to eat it outside of its allotted time. He's going to do the avodah outside its allotted place. So when it comes to k'toris, he's not eating the k'toris. He's not thinking to himself, I am going to eat this like a regular carbon. I'm going to eat the k'toris outside of its allotted place at time. So he means to say, I'm going to be maktir the k'toris. I'm going to put it on the gechalim. I'm going to put it on the mizbech later than I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to do it today on Yom Kippur. I'm doing it Matzah Yom Kippur. What happens if he does that by k'toris? Mi amrin yalef miloi mincha. A mincha is like a carbon, right? This stuff right over here. This is a carbon. Now we learn from Sukkim, it's like a shlamim, like other karbanos. And of course, by a carbon, that's the whole Masechtas Zvachim. You think about any carbon that you're going to eat it outside of its allotted time, you're going to do something outside of its allotted time, it's possible. Or even if you think that you're going to be makrivit, you're going to do one of the avodas outside of the Beis Hamikdash, possible. So do we say, Miloi mincha, I learned from mincha ma'asim mahanya bach machshava, the machshava ruins it, the machshava ruins it by k'toris oiloi. All they have shim v'rashul or papa. Toshma. Hoisif Rebbe Akiva hasoilas v'aktoires, meaning hasoilas means a mincha. So it says like this: that if here, this is beautiful. Look at this. If a person is at full yom, what's at full yom? A person who is tamei goes to the mikveh, and he has to wait until the hair of shemesh to become completely tar. But between that period of time that he went to the mikveh, came out of the mikveh until sundown, he's at full yom. To the point that if he touches kachim, he's metama them. So take a look. I'm at full yom, and I touched this right over here. These two little grains of silas. What about over here? Does this become tummy? Yes. Why? Because all this is in a kli, and they have kedushas aguf, and now they become tummy. So Hoisif, Rebbe Kiva added silas from the mincha, k'toires, levaina, the frankincense, v'gechalim on Yom Kippur. She'ir nagat full yom b'mikzasan. If a full yom touches part of it, pasal is kulam. They all become pasal for avodah. Says the Gemara like this: Kasal kadaita mid pasal full yom, pasal namilina. Let's just take it step at a time. If a full yom could pasal it, why is he pasaling it? Because it's in a kli shars. It has kedushas aguf. The kli makes it one. Anything in this kli is one piece. I know it's made of different particles, but it's one. So memela, once I say that it has Kedushas HaGuf, anything that's Kadosh from a Kli Sharis is susceptible to Lina. Lina, it cannot stay overnight. That's step number 2. So you hear the stretch. I'm going from making it in a Kli Sharis to being susceptible to Lina. And once it's susceptible to Lina, then I go to step number 3 and say that then even a thought about Lina would also make it possible.
Why is it so possible that if it's possible Lina, then Machshava is also possible? Maybe it's possible Lina and Machshava is not possible.
Because anytime we have a psul Lina, then the Machshava works. So it should work over here also. Anytime you have a psul Lina, like a carbon, that becomes possible overnight, the Machshava ruins it, right? Anytime you have that, they're together. Okay, so I'm making that. I'm using the same. I'm using logic here. Not Xer Sakas. I'm saying. Yeah, but why? He's saying why Machshava? Why should Machshava help? Why am I taking the next step? Why am I jumping from actual Lina to Machshava's Lina? That's how it usually works.
It's also because you have the soul of Machshava. Machshava is for the next day. So
right.
It's susceptible to the next day. It's susceptible to Machshava.
Right. It just doesn't say Mefurish, but I could assume that. Anytime something is susceptible to the next day, the Machshava of the next day also ruins it. So over here, how do I know it's susceptible to the next day? Because it's possible from Tful Yai. Now look at Taisus. Today we have time to do this giant Taisus. So we'll do the giant Taisus. Turn the page for a second and see it's giant. We're going to do the whole thing now. Says Taisus like this. Picture Rashi. Nah, just a few lines to be Aitzah. 3 lines from the bottom of Taisus. Picture Rashi. Rashi says, the Gemara says there's 3 steps. If it's susceptible to Tful Yom, so then it's susceptible to overnight. And if it's susceptible to overnight, then it's susceptible to the thought of overnight. That's Rashi, a great kasha. It's a Mefurish Mishnah. Step 1 to get to step 2 is a Mishnah. Why do you have to come up with it with your own logic? It says Mefurish in the Mishnah. If they became Kaddish in a Kli, and the story. It says Mefurish that it becomes puzzle belina. I don't have to come up with a logical thing that if it's puzzle but Tful Yom, it should be puzzle belina. It says Mefurish in the Mishnah, it is puzzle belina. V'loi tiritz, says Taisus. Rashi doesn't say a teretz. But the reason I'm jumping Taisus because Taisus is a beautiful teretz. V'rivat tiritz. Dahida hasam ikla meimar. Turn the page to Daf Yomi. I don't know. Are you supposed to say? You know what? Today is the last day for these sponsors. We'll say it twice. Today we're turning to Meron sponsored Schus Shidduch as the Devora bas Leah Gittel and Devora bas Suri for Shidduch and Leah nishmat the Meron victims and Rafua Shlema for the Meron victims and the MDY Chabur is truly one great family. Says Taisus. Over there in the Mishnah, the Hari B'Ktar is the Kol Hashana. The Chashiva Kiddush Kli Dida Lipsul B'Tful Yom Chuzigim Belina. A regular K'tairis requires a Kli, so it makes a lot of sense that the Kli will make everything else susceptible to Tful Yom and Lina. Diktani Kitchen B'Kli. Amud Aleph Yishid Tzricha Kli. Kedei L'Kach Kiddush Gama. Over there it says Kitchen B'Kli, so obviously it's something that requires a Kli. Avol K'tairis the Yom Kippur says Taisvis by us in our sugya. You don't need a kli, as we just mentioned. All you need to do is go like this. The reason why I put it in a kli is because he has a problem, a technical problem. The Torah doesn't say put in a kli. The Torah says just take your hands, go like this, take the Torah, put it on the Gittel. So maybe the kli doesn't bring it up to such a kedusha that it would be possible. Belina, that's why I have to come on to logic. It's a great nafkamina. Bayra Papa, the last 3 words in the Amud, and now we turn to the Amud Beis. Sponsor, the cover of Shidduch Vesed, Devora bas Leah Gittel! And for Devora bas Suri, the nishmat, the Meron victims, for Shlema, for all the Meron victims, the MDY Chabura is truly one big family. So another question. Chisha b'chatias gechol amau. We said one of the avodas of the Kohen Gadol is go up onto the Mizbeach, and move away the Gechal and get to the really glowing ones. During that, he's thinking to himself that he's going to be makta the Ketores, not today Yom Kippur, but tomorrow, the day after Yom Kippur. That's a machshavas pigul in a typical carbon. But now he's doing it with the coals. So Rashi brings two Girsais, two Pshatim. The Gemara is asking, should the Ketores be puzzle? Should the Gechal be puzzle? Mao. Machshiri mitzvah kimitzvah damu. Ilui teiku. This is just a machshir to the mitzvah. It's not the mitzvah itself. It's to get the coals that will allow me to do the Ketores. That's a step before. So do we say that the machshir mitzvah is like the mitzvah itself and you could passel? Ilui. Now, this is over here. This is where you say joke number 724. And that's it. I'm not going to say what it is. Teiku. The one with the Rebbe and the Menorah. You remember? Okay, great. Bo minei Rav Sheishes. Haylacha b'smail mau. We're talking about the regular carbon now. There's shchita, kabbalah, haylacha, and zrika. So what happens if you do any of the avodas with your left hand? Puzzle. Over here, we're asking about haylacha because haylacha is different. Haylacha is not in the Torah. It doesn't say haylacha before in the Torah. You have to do haylacha. You have to go from point A of the Kabbalah to the Mizbeach. It doesn't say it. We learn it from Psukim. So what if a person uses his left hand? That we learned. Yeah? Yesterday. Kohen Gadol takes the coals in his right hand and takes the Ketores in his left hand. Now if the left is puzzle, it shouldn't work. Anybody have a good teretz to that? Or a kasha at least?
Not avodah, taking in the mind.
Why? It's halacha.
And that's what he has to sacrifice. In the meantime, he puts it in a container in order.
But he's walking. He's going from point A to point B. He's walking from over here to over there. It's halacha. Same halacha. Point A. Huh? It's in both hands. It's small also. Yeah. Okay. Different childs, different things. Okay, but the Gemara understands it's a great raya. You see that you can use your left hand and bring something into the Kodesh HaKodashim on the holiest day of the year with your left hand. Ask the Gemara, this not. So the Gemara says, why are you bringing a raya from Ketores? A raya from Ketores to Avodas Hadam, something in a carbon. Bring a raya from a carbon itself. This not. Haregel she'imim b'smal. Remember, we had this already. There was a bunch of kohanim. I think it was 9 kohanim. They bring up different parts of the carbon tamid onto the mizbeach. The one that was zoicha to bring the head, because it doesn't have a lot of basar, they give him also the right foot. So, how does he hold the right foot? The head he holds in his right hand. The foot he holds in his left hand. It's a great right. You can use your left hand. No, a regel she'imim b'smal. Ubeis oyer lechutz just tells you how do you do it. You do it in a way that you don't see the incision. You don't see where they chopped off the foot. He puts that incision, that all the veins, the gross stuff, he puts it up against his body, and you see the skin. Okay, it's not b'kavet to show something not nice, but it says mefurish b'smal. It says Gemara, ima asam avamina hanamili haylacha delemak v'kapara. Buy a carbon tamid. What's essential? Shchita, haylacha, kabbalah, zrika. Once I get to the zrika, I have a kapara. What happens if they don't put the ivarim on the mizbeach? You still have a carbon tamid. You didn't do what you're supposed to do, but you still have a carbon tamid. So since it's not essential, it's not ma'akiv, so I would say, okay, so that's why they allow you to bring it with your left hand. But over here, but to bring the blood from the shechita to the mizbeach is how are you going to do zrik on the mizbeach? You need it. It's part of the 4 avodas that are ma'akiv. If you skip the halacha, you're not yaitza. So something that you're not yaitza, you have to do it just with your right hand. I think we should go a few minutes. What time is it? Let's go a few minutes. We'll go to Bayra Papa. Meisvei, and we have to tell the guys that missed the shir today that we got there. Meisvei zar va'oinen shikar ubalmum b'kabbalah u'be'ilacha u'bezrika apostle. If a person is a zar, he's not a kain. He's a oinen and he lost a loved one that day. Shikar, we know what a shikar is. Ubalmum, he has a mum. B'kabbalah be'elacha b'zrika, 3 out of the 4, but it says halacha. Shchita we know, Azar could do shchita, a Yisrael could do shchita. But the other 3, Kabbalah, halacha, zrika, pasul. Mefurish in the Brisa that you cannot do halacha. Hold on, and that 1 second, and then it says v'chein yoshev, v'chein smoil pasul. So these 3 things, you have Kabbalah, halacha, zrika. First of all, you can't be a shikr, but second of all, you can't sit when you're doing it. How would you do halacha when you're sitting? I guess you'd sit down on your rear and you like push yourself, propel yourself towards that. But you can't do Kabbalah when you're sitting. You can't do Zrika when you're sitting. That I understand. The halacha is sitting. Okay, we have to be creative. But it says mefurish that you cannot do it with your left hand. You cannot do halacha, Zrika, and Kabbalah with your left hand. End the story. To Yufta. It's a Bam Kasha that we just said. He holds that you could. Sheshes holds you could. Says the Gemara. You're talking about Yom Kippur. This is not Yom Kippur. This is any day of the week. Any day of the week. Ask the Gemara of Rav Sheshes who da'isva. Rav Sheshes himself, who holds that you could do halacha with your left hand, he asked a question from this that you can't. So what's going on here? The what? Rav Sheshes Amir is the loudspeaker, yeah? The guy that stands next to the Tano who's talking and he repeats what he's saying so everybody could hear him. He was the loudspeaker of Rav Chizda. Boy, my name is Rav Chizda. Rav Sheshes tells him, go ask Rav Chizda, what's the halacha when it comes to a non-kohen doing halacha? We know a non-kohen can do shchita. We know that a kohen has to do the zrika and the Kabbalah. What about the halacha? So Rav Chizda tells him, Ksheira. I have a pasuk to prove it. It says in Divrei Yoma, Vayishchatu ha'posach, vayizriku ha'kohanim miyadam. There's a lot of korbanos, and so they needed to bring in, what do they call them? You know, the backups, the reserves. They had to bring in the reserves. They didn't have enough kohanim to take care of everything. So it says, Vayishchatu ha'posach, va'levim afshitim. So the Levim are doing the Avshata, but the Levim are doing the Shchita. Who's doing the Zrika? The Kohanim. So we just read the pasuk. The Levim are doing the Shchita. The Kohanim are doing the Zrika. But what happened to the Halacha? It seems like only the Kohanim took over by the Zrika. The Shchita Halacha, well, Kabbalah was Kohanim. Okay, so Shchita was Levim, Kabbalah was a Kohen, and the Zrika was a Kohen. What happened between Kabbalah and Zrika? The Halacha. We could understand that perhaps the Levi did it. And then Rav Sheshes jumps up and asks a question of Rav Chizda. What are you talking about? It says, Zar va'ayin shikur b'amum b'kabbalah v'elacha v'zriya pasol v'chein yoshev v'chein small pasol. So use this against Rav Chizda. So in other words, Rav Sheshes knew about this brisa, and it says mefurish in this brisa that small is no good. So how could Rav Sheshes say that small is kosher? So the Gemara, in the beginning, he didn't know about this brisa. After he heard this brisa, then he decided to ask questions with it. Now, what do we do with Rav Chizda? Rav Chizda has a pasuk. Seems like that the Yisraelim, the Levim, they did halacha because the Kohen took the blood to do zrika from this Levi. So what do we do with that? And Rav Chizda has a good pasuk. So the Gemara, the Ovid Maisid Staba. Yes, the Kohen from the pasuk you could say took from the Levi, but the Levi didn't bring it. He never moved. He was just a bench. He was there holding, almost like you said, Doc. They needed somebody to hold the blood while the Kohanim doing other stuff. So the Levi sat there like a tatala. He didn't move it any closer to the Mizbeach. There's no halacha going on. He just held it like a bench. And Memela, that's okay. Have a wonderful week. See you tomorrow, Be'ezer Hashem. Sei gesund. Yeah. It says in the pasuk Levim. I also thought, but it says Komitzah or the Chavina? What are you talking about? What?
You started showing what the Komitzah was, right? And then you show
That's two different things. One is Komitzah, one is Chafina. Komitzah is for Chafina is just for Ketores, yeah. Yeah. No, that was yesterday's daf. Shgoyach. Good joke. Should have came up here and.
Yesterday's stuff about his big hands and how he did that, carrying with the right on the left, but then he had a cup with his hand like that.
Which one? It's not a story. It's a story? What do you mean?
No, you mentioned that Ben Kimchis had massive hands.
Right.
And that also that he had.
Now, who was it? It was somebody else. Who was it? Could you let me in, please, Gary? I'm a little bit of a bomber.
That he had 4 cups. That it was even
yeah.
Where should he do on the right or the left?
You told the whole thing? Great. כן, אתה רואה שמכל אחד זה התחיל בשמאל, אז ממילא נתנו לזה להמשיך.
ככה צריך להביא את זה, כאילו דרבנן בקר. הלוך בשמאל, בכלל שכלי, שלא סתם...
כן, אבל אני שומע, אבל למה... אני לא הבנתי את הקושייה בכלל של הגמור, כי אין אפשרות אחרת, כאילו צריך להביא שתי דברים, אז אם אין ידיים, אני חושב שזה משפט. אתה אומר משהו יותר, אתה אומר שהתחילו בשמאל. אבל למה, so why did they say, at least put it in the right hand, put the guitars in the right hand. You see, that's not so important. Right is not so... שומע, ישכח. Oh. Voch.
Years ago, made a constant. He came up with a table. He says, when the waiter comes and says, you want the margit or the... He says, tell him Paseder L'Mashavet.
Hold on. Oh. You ever heard that joke? The one about I don't want to put it back on the thing. What do you want? It's old.